Welcome back, guys. Mike King Corridor here, and today we're taking a look at another typewriter. This is an Alder Favorit 2. It's a machine that was produced in the summer of 1939 during Nazi Germany. There's no nice way to say that, really. It was manufactured before the Polish invasion, where Poland was invaded by the Soviet Union and Germany, that kicked off the Second World War, which makes it interesting historically. But these machines are also mechanically interesting. They're what is known as a thrust-action machine, whereas, as you might notice, doesn't really have a basket here. A normal machine will come up and hit the plate and like that. These machines go straight in like that. And I will take the cover off and get you a better look at that. Note that I redid the decals on this, and I didn't do such a great job. I actually accidentally screwed it up there and there and there and there when I was doing the lacquer. I will show you a picture here of what it originally looked like, and you'll see it was pretty worn out. I had to go a bit out of my way to have these made, and I actually had to take a bit of tinfoil in my fingernail and go over the top of what barely little bumps were in the paint left over, because you couldn't see it, and I couldn't get any measurements or anything. So it was kind of an interesting process, but it all worked out, as you can see, because the decals, they really look nice, don't they? And big shout out to the guy who did that for me. Unfortunately, I don't remember his name. I'll include the links underneath, though, if you want to contact him. And you can thank me for creating this set if you have a Favorit 2 and you'd like to make it look brand new again. Hopefully you're better with shellac than I am, though. I did get a second set of these, though, and I will be trying this again. And maybe I'll do a better job this time. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Let's get on with it, though. Alrighty, before we say any more, I actually wanted to explain where I got this machine before I talk about the keyboard. I actually bought this from a guy in Michigan who said he found it in a building that was being demolished, which is very odd. This is not a machine that's common to the U.S. In fact, I don't think these were imported to the U.S. at all. They were never made with English-speaking keyboards. As you can see, it's a German keyboard. My best guess is that it was brought back by a GI after the war, or that it was brought back by somebody who emigrated from Germany or Europe to the U.S. after the war. So kind of an interesting machine historically, and like I said, mechanically. It's a weird one, and it's not one you usually find here in the States, so I'm very happy to own this machine. But anyway, getting on with it, looking at the keyboard here. Woo, bump the camera. This is a quartz layout, normal standard German layout. You have your umlaut keys over here. You actually have accent keys over here for doing French, I heard from someone else who lives in Europe. There is your etset key. For some reason, a paragraph beginning key. I find it odd, though, that this machine does not have a mark key or a Reichsmarks key. It just lacks any kind of dollar notation at all, whatever. I guess you just write RM afterwards if you were going to do that, but not sure, to be honest. It is odd that it has equal and no plus, and a dash here, but again, no plus. So, not sure how you get a plus on a machine like this. It's a bit strange. It also doesn't have a 1, as you can see, which you can use L, as you would on a normal typewriter of this type. But it also doesn't have a 0, which is a bit bizarre, so you have to use a capital O as a 0, and they look identical. Other than that, though, pretty standard, normal typewriter-y type stuff. Shift lock. It's a bit sensitive. If you don't do it quite right, it'll kick it out, but there are a couple of weird flaws in this design, as you will notice as we go along. It's an interesting machine. Definitely a wartime machine, because it's very, very basic. Although it's not a wartime machine, it's a pre-war machine. But it is kind of a you see what you get type of deal. So, moving around to the back here, you can see we have a paper bail, which is quite nice. It actually has kind of built-in card holders here, so you could do cards. It's obviously more of a measuring thing, but it would work for that, I think. Haven't tried it yet, though, so don't quote me on that. This is your tension release. Well, mine doesn't lock in place. I've noticed the older models do lock in place, so that is kind of interesting. I don't know if it's just a thing about these particular earlier ones, since this machine, I think, is mechanically the same as a Favorit 1. My machine also has carriage release here. It does not have any carriage locks, to my knowledge, and the later versions do have carriage locks, which would be really handy for transporting, but I don't have the case, unfortunately. It didn't make it. So, although it would be very nice to have a case, because these are not that common machines, and especially not in good condition. Your plate in advance, obviously, you can set that with a knob on the side here. I'll move it so you can see it. You can see it best there. It's right here. You got 1, 2, 3. There is no halves, unfortunately. I usually like to set my typewriters to 1.5, but you so rarely get that option. Now, I hear you might be asking me, how do you set the margins on a machine like this? Because you didn't see it on the keyboard. There's no magic margins or anything. And it really is simple. You just turn the machine around, and you have access to them right there. There is your access. Here and here are your margins, and it could not be simpler. Unfortunately, you will find that the right margin does not actually stop the advancement of the carriage, which is nice in some ways because you can finish your words, but also because it will not stop you, and you can run straight off the page. So you can be careful of that. It does ding though, and it has a very pleasant sort of ring. I like that quite a lot. Now, of course, we must look at the mechanism, because this is really what makes this machine interesting and worth collecting, besides its historical value, obviously. If I take off the cover here, you can see that the basket is not exactly normal. It is a thrust mechanism, as I mentioned before, which is pretty strange. Press a key, and it goes straight in. Boom, like that. How weird is that? Now, there were a couple of other machines like this, Adler's and other designs that were licensed from Adler, but there is also a Remington Silent from the 1940s, I believe, that has the same type of action. It's a much bigger machine, but same type of action. I must say, though, that I don't really like typing on this. It's an okay machine, but it does have its flaws, and you will see probably as I demonstrate typing it, which we will do right now. Okay, before we get started here, I should mention that there are a couple of differences between this and the later versions. My key has an etset. The later versions has a plus key here. The later versions have a paper stand. Mine does not have any paper stand of any kind. The later kinds have little spool covers that sit on here. Mine doesn't have anything like that. The later kinds also have little shields here to prevent the ribbon coming in contact with the platen. As you can see, it does happen there. Mine doesn't have anything like that. The later versions also have carriage locks. Mine does not have any carriage locks. As far as I know, mine is pretty much identical to a Favorit 1, except not having glass top keys. Not really sure what the difference is besides that. So, I should also mention, because we're going to test it right now, I have a very hard plate on this, and the rollers on mine are flat because they're made out of this eraser-like material. This is a foot off of this machine, the original foot. Nobody sells these, by the way. So I had to cut down a Smith Corona portable foot to put on here, and they work fine. The only problem is that it's still not enough grip because this machine is so light. It could probably stand for a couple lead weights in the bottom to make sure it doesn't jump around so much. I put it on a mouse mat. Hopefully that'll help. We shall see. Get the paper loaded. Ooh, that actually went in really straight this time. That almost never happens with this machine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And away we go. The Y really messes me up every time. Okay, so let's go ahead and take off the cover here so I can show it in action with its mechanisms out on display here so you can see the weirdness firsthand. Oops, that's not a Z. Oh, I forget that doesn't work sometimes. Could we not? And so there it is, the 1939 Adler Favorit 2. This is what the type looks like, by the way, if you were interested in that sort of thing. As you can see, I had a couple of problems with the A not hitting the page. I don't know what's the deal with this machine. It seems to be kind of a flawed design. It works well when it wants to work well, but it is a bit temperamental. So keep that in mind if you do want to buy one of these. They are not the best. I don't really like them that much for their reliability, but I mean, for mechanical and historical sort of interest, this machine is right up there as one of the weirdest, most interesting machines I own, besides my Oliver. And another machine which is coming in the mail, which I will not spoil yet, which I've actually probably told most everybody who's going to watch this. So, anyway, if you enjoyed this, please leave a like and a comment below. I'm Mad King Corduroy, and thank you for watching Transcendental Airwaves. I will see you again in the next video, probably another typewriter video, because computers are bulky and they take up too much room. Anyway, bye!